Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call the Missoula City Council meeting of June 12th, 2017 to order. If you'd please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And pardon me, please let the record note that all council members are present this evening except Ms. Cares. We have minutes of the meeting of June 5th. Without objection, they'll stand approved. Seeing none, we'll move on to our committee schedule. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks. We have a short list of committee meetings this week. The Land Use and Planning Committee will meet on this coming Wednesday, that's the 14th of June, between 10:55 in the morning and 11:25. The Committee of the Whole will meet from 11:30 till noon. Public Works will start the afternoon off at 1 o'clock and meet until 3. And the Budget Committee will meet from 3:05 to 4:35. And all of those meetings are being held right here in the City Council chambers.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any changes to the committee schedule this evening? Seeing none of those, we'll move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening. General public comment.
Candy Matthew Jenkins, 1211 Cooper Street. Reading from The Soviet Art of Brainwashing, Psychopolitics, the Art of Mental Healing. And that's pretty prevalent in today's world with all the talk about things out there by people that are mentally ill. Using criminals and prisoners, the psychopolitical operative in training should then experiment with duress in the absence of privation, administering electric shocks, beatings, and terror-inducing tactics, accompanied by the same mechanisms employed in hypnotism, and watch the conduct of the person when no longer under duress. The operative in training should carefully remark those who show a tendency to protest so that he may recognize possible recovery of memories of the commands implanted. Purely for his own education, he should then satisfy himself as to the efficacy of brain surgery in disabling the non-responsive prisoner. The boldness of the psychopolitical operative can be increased markedly by permitting back into society persons who have been given pain drug hypnosis and have demonstrated symptoms of rebelling or reinstating themselves into this society, if only to observe how the label of insanity continues to discredit and discount the statements of such persons.
Any other general public comment this evening?
My name is Bob Moore. The City Council, or MRI, has approved to spend $2 million for a piece of land across from the shopping center. I understand from one council lady that it was worth $10 million. Maybe it was $12 million, I can't remember. $2 million versus 10 to 12 million. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the amount. 10 to 12 million dollars, and I've asked to see the appraisal for that. It was stated at either the council or the MRA that an appraisal would be obtained. I would like to see that appraisal. And one other one, I made a comment that if it's really worth $10 million or $12 million, whatever the number was, we should pay the rail line $10 million and sell it for $12 million. That'd be a good use of money. It'd be equal to giving the bank $1.5 million. Another comment made by the mayor was to the extent that the TIF money program was going to put a lot of money into our city bank. I asked to see a study on that, to how much was actually going into the city as a result of the TIF program. The director of MRA was here at that time, and I would suggest that she could probably tell us what that was off the top of her head. So I asked you again, Mayor, that you let the city know how great the TIF program has been. I think that may even help me get elected again. I mean, not elected. Then I read in the paper $100 million is needed for the water system. What I would like to know is why did the mayor and the city council allow the city's water system to get into such a position that we got to now spend $100 million to bring the water system up to standards. Thank you.
Any other general public comment this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Items on that agenda were approved unanimously in council committees. We save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all together. Ms. Rabine will read the list of consent agenda items aloud so those in the audience and at home will know what we're considering, and we'll invite comment before we vote. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks. Tonight's consent agenda has, looks like 7 items. And the first, as always, is to approve claims. And claims are the city's accounts payable. So number 1 is to approve claims, which are the city's accounts payable in the amount of $1,093,315.95 for checks that are dated June 13th, 2017. Number 2 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Morrison Merrily for $64,232 for engineering services needed to complete rehabilitation work on the Beaumont number 1 sewer lift station. Number 3 is to approve claims in the amount of $4,985,500.72 for checks that are dated June 13th, 2017. Those are for bond payments that are made by wire transfer that didn't appear in our other claims payable report. Number 4 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Jeffrey Park Impact Fee Offset Agreement with Lloyd Dwight Family Partnership, LLC, in an amount not to exceed $175,000. Number 5 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a purchase agreement with Ellen Curtis of Kent, Washington, in the amount of $113,794 for purchase of 4 sets of Hearst hydraulic, easy for me to say, extrication tools for the fire department. Number 6 is to adopt a resolution of the Missoula City Council adopting the Missoula County, Montana Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan 2017 update. And finally, number 7 is to approve the City Montana Department of Transportation utility agreements necessitated by the relocation of water and sewer mains and appurtenances caused by the Russell Street roadway reconstruction project. The Montana Department of Transportation will pay 75% of the direct construction costs, and the city of Missoula will pay 25% of the construction costs plus engineering services for the relocation work.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any questions or comments from council members? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment?
Candy Matthew Jenkins. I'm sure that somewhere in this, these bond payments made by wire transfer are part of the water system. If they're not part of the water system, like I've said before, you should at least clarify in a 1 to 2 sentence explanation where this money is going from to, because it's just checks dated and bond payments. Clarification is good communication with the citizens of Missoula. And anybody that walks in here doesn't have that clarification, especially on agenda items that explains. And I've seen many of them that are obfuscated in not telling what they're for. A general statement of what they're for would be better than nothing at all, so the citizens can be well informed.
This was not planned at all, but I saw this same thing approved, bond transfers, $4,985,500.72. I think it would be nice for someone to explain what that is. And my vote would be not paying those bonds. I suspect, unlike the lady before, I suspect this bond's paying off TIF money, but I don't know. It would be nice to know. But you may not want us to know.
That was Mr. Moore, for the record. Anyone else this evening? All right, with that, we'll have a roll call vote.
On the consent agenda, items 1 through 7. Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley. Bentley votes yes. DeBari. DeBari votes yes. Heddall. Heddall votes yes. Hess. Hess votes yes. Jones. Jones votes yes. Marlar. Marlar votes yes. Swaney. Swaney votes yes. Von Lossberg. Von Lossberg votes yes. West. West votes yes. And Wilkins. Wilkins votes yes. Would any of you like to change your vote? Seeing none of those, the final vote is 11 ayes and 1 absent.
And the consent agenda is approved. I'm unaware of any comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, or the community forum this evening. We'll move on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. State law and our own council rules set guidelines for inviting comment on a variety of issues in a formal way following a staff report. Pardon me. The council and I will invite comment. Council typically votes on the same evening as a public hearing unless one council member elects to return that item to committee for further consideration. Our first public hearing this evening is on community development block grant and home funding recommendations. And our staff report this evening comes, Will. My agenda lied to me.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Will Seaburn. I'm a grants administrator with the Office of Housing and Community Development. Thank you very much for the time this evening for the public hearing on the recommendations for community development block grant and home investment partnership funding. I'm going to try to keep my comments concise so that we can open it up for a lot of the folks from the community here who are here to talk about it. But just to provide a little bit of background, Housing and Community Development staff members, along with representatives from the City Council, President Marlar joined us on the review committee, as well as Ellen Buchanan from the Missoula Redevelopment Agency. We've reviewed 17 applications from nonprofit organizations for the Community Development Block Grant Program and 4 applications for the Home Investment Partnerships Program. And as is always the case, the requested amounts far exceeded the anticipated resources that we expect to get from HUD. So as such, we had an application scoring criteria that was shared with applicants back in February as part of an application workshop, going through a variety of indicators. And really the bottom line is which of these projects has, given our limited resources, has the potential to have the greatest community impact. So using that scoring criteria as a guide, a little bit background on the timeline, folks turned in their applications in March. And then we took the time to do our application review process, working with our team, and are now recommending 8 community development block grants and 4 home grants that are going to be part of our program year 2017 that will begin July 1st and go through June 30th of next year. Due to congressional delays in passing a federal fiscal year 2017 spending bill, the HUD 2017 allocations are not yet publicly available. And in accordance with HUD guidance and consultation with our HUD field rep, we have based our action plan on anticipated funding sources. This is a common practice when Congress takes too long in appropriating the home and CDBG funds, that cities like us can make some estimates based on past experience. And we were aided in that fact that the appropriation at the federal level was passed at the exact same amount as last year, so we were able to draw some inferences from that. But as such, these are estimates, and so in the action plan and in the memo that's been available for council, we explained the contingencies we're going to take if the funding comes in a little bit higher or a little bit lower. And I'm happy to go in more depth on that if anyone has questions about that. But just moving right to it with what the recommended projects are, I'm going to start with the home program. Homeward Inc., a home grant of $270,772 to support the placement of small manufactured homes that will be available to low to moderate income home buyers and renters. 10 total households are going to benefit from this project, at least 5 of which will be low to moderate income. Homeward Inc., also a home grant in the amount of $20,000 in the form of a pre-development loan to determine feasibility for the 4th Street redevelopment project that, if it moves forward, would provide affordable housing to low and moderate income seniors, of which we have a great need in the community currently. One great thing to note about a pre-development loan, if the project does move forward and they begin construction, they pay back that $20,000 loan, we can re-grant that out to another housing project in the future. The third project is Homeward Inc.'s grant in the amount of $15,800 for Community Housing Development Organization, or CHODO, operating assistance. These are funds that support Homeward in their, both the 2 projects that are listed above, but all the projects that they're working on in terms of increasing the housing stock that is affordable for Missoulians. And this is a special grant opportunity that HUD offers for community housing development organizations like Homeward, and is in recognition of the fact that they're providing it's a lot of work to put these projects together, and it's a modest investment in their operations to help make that happen. The final home project is District 11 Human Resource Council, a home grant of $75,000 to provide tenant-based rental assistance to low and moderate income households. At least 14 low to moderate income renters will benefit from up to 12 months of rental assistance. Moving on to the Community Development Block Grant, we have them categorized first in housing and public improvement projects. The first project is the City of Missoula Public Works, a CDBG grant of $261,000 to support the Invest Health project to install sidewalks that will benefit low to moderate income neighborhoods in Missoula. An estimated 19,687 residents in the Franklin to the Fort and West Side neighborhoods will benefit from this project. The second project is Opportunity Resources, Inc., a CDBG grant of $68,400 for the Benton Avenue Housing Improvement Project, located at 2327 and 2339 Benton Avenue in Missoula. There are 8 units there that will benefit from some upgrades, and a total of 13 individuals with disabilities who will benefit from these improvements. The final one in this category is Accessible Space, Inc., a CDBG grant of $32,281 to replace the elevator at the Eagle Watch Estates, which will benefit low to moderate income renters living with disabilities. There are 24 renter households there, and it's 2/3 of them rely on the elevator to be able to come and go from the building. So this will be a very important project for them. Finally, in the public service category, starting with the Poverello Center, a CDBG grant of $15,000 to support rapid intake and assessment for homeless individuals seeking shelter. An estimated 1,600 homeless individuals will benefit from this service. Homeward Inc., a CDBG grant of $20,000 to support their financial and renter education and counseling programs. An estimated 357 low to moderate income individuals will benefit. The YWCA of Missoula, a CDBG grant of $25,000 to provide emergency shelter for homeless families through the Ada's Place Emergency Housing Program. An estimated 225 low to moderate income individuals will benefit. The fourth grant is a Poverello Center grant, community development block grant of $11,000 to support the Coordinated Entry Housing Navigator service for homeless individuals. Slightly different from the first grant in terms of the first grant's really focused on the folks who are just coming in the doors and figuring out how to get them channeled to the right resources. I know folks from the community who are going to speak about this more eloquently than I can, but Coordinated Entry is a new effort we just launched in the past few weeks here in Missoula, and is really a proven effort in other cities in drastically reducing homelessness and the amount of time spent in homelessness. And this Housing Navigator is going to play the role to really make sure all the resources are aligning and that we're getting the resources to those who are most vulnerable to really make an impact on homelessness in our community. The final grant is a Missoula Aging Services grant, CDBG grant of $6,640 to provide low to moderate income seniors with home delivered meals through the Meals on Wheels program, and an estimated 275 low to moderate income individuals will benefit. And then the final funding allocation is for the Office of Housing and Community Development, a community development block grant award of $103,521 and home award of $31,658. And this is to support the planning and administration of management of the community development block grant and home programs within the mandatory caps that HUD puts. It's 10% for home, 20% for CDBG. This allows us to provide technical assistance to community organizations, do all the compliance monitoring, lead some community planning efforts, and submit all of our required reports and documentation to HUD, as is required throughout the year. So just to recap, with all these projects, our anticipated outcomes are that 19,687 residents will benefit from new sidewalk connections that will increase their access to schools, transportation, recreation, and businesses. 56 households will benefit from quality, affordable housing through new housing development, multifamily rental rehabilitation, and rental assistance. 1,825 homeless individuals and families will benefit from emergency shelter, intake and assessment, and coordinated entry services. And 632 individuals will benefit from public services focused on financial and renter education and counseling and the Meals on Wheels program. With that, I'm happy to take any questions now, or I can also just step aside and leave it, open it up for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Seaburn. With that, I will open the public hearing. Anyone care to comment on any of these grants? Mr. Morton?
Good evening. My name is Jim Morton. I'm with the Human Resource Council. As you heard, we're being recommended for tenant-based rental assistance. I don't want to get into the weeds, as they say, about that, but just quickly, you may have heard about that in other contexts of housing choice voucher or the Section 8 rental assistance program. We will be guided by those two programs through HUD in terms of the maximum rents that we are allowed to assist. Also the income guidelines and how we comply with the rules in determining income. We also have suggested, and the recommendation will be, if we're awarded, allow us to serve those who are facing eviction, so that's a prevention component, as well as what the housers call rapid rehousing, and that's for those folks who are actually homeless and have no place at all. And that, as you'll hear from other of my colleagues from different organizations, is part of a coordinated system so that we are not duplicating, and in fact we're meeting so that these funds are actually distributed in a way that's non-duplicative and meets, I think, the community's request of us to provide housing. So I'm available if there are any questions, and I appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Amy Allison Thompson. I'm the director at the Pavarello Center. Thank you so much for your consideration and hearing our grants tonight. The Pavarello Center applied for 2 grants. You have heard from a couple of people so far about the coordinated entry system. And just in a just brief nutshell, that's a system that many organizations who serve the homeless and who have housing services have come together and really created this coordinated entry system that allows us to really prioritize and make sure we're not duplicating services in our community. Part of that involves an initial assessment. That's a housing assessment that we're doing at all of these locations, and we're doing the same assessment across the board, so we make sure we're hitting everybody equally and making sure that folks are ending up on this master list or by name list. So the way that the Pavarello fits into that is, obviously we serve a good number of homeless individuals at any given time, and our intake and assessment project grant specifically is focused on when individuals present to the Pavarello Center, we make sure that when they come in the door, we're completing a housing assessment with them. And so that funding is just to assist us in making sure that every homeless individual we come into contact with makes it onto that list. And then our second grant is an additional kind of piece of coordinated entry. And what that means is that when that person has gone through an assessment, they're actually given what's called a vulnerability score. And that really shows how at risk that person is of dying on the streets at any given time compared to their peers. And essentially, the housing coordinator position at the Pavarello Center would really be focused on those most vulnerable individuals that we serve, and to really ensure that when their name comes up on the list, that they are supported and ready to get into housing. So that's that second piece of the grant. So thank you very much, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Lester, Chief Financial Officer with Missoula Aging Services, and we would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your CDBG's continued support for our Meals on Wheels program. We like to say that Meals on Meals is more than just a meal. We heard tonight that there's a increased demand for senior housing, and with our Meals on Wheels program, what we aim to do is to help people remain in their homes for as long as possible. Nutrition is just one of the social determinants of health that we address. We address it holistically by providing that safety check each and every day, making sure that their home is safe, that their meals are provided, and that they're eating their meals. We are so appreciative of your support. It's just one of the many foundational health aspects that we can provide, and we are unduplicated. We provide to seniors as well as people under the age of 60 with disabilities, and that is also a method to help prevent homelessness by helping them stay in their homes. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if you ever have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lester.
Ken Brown, Opportunity Resources. So we have a CDBG grant in for our Benton apartments. There are 2 fourplexes that face each other across the courtyard. We've had them, I believe, since about 1983. We have done repairs to them, but over the years, you know, they just need the siding, the windows. As things progress, we get better and better with materials, and unfortunately, the materials from the 80s these days don't make it any longer. So it'll provide a good quality living situation for 13 individuals with severe disabilities that have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week supervision there. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Biskevich races to the microphone.
That's a microphone? Wow, that's pretty cool. Hi, I'm Lisa Viskevich, Missoula City County Health Department, and I'm here to thank you for your consideration for the sidewalk installation grant in the West Side and the Franklin to Fort neighborhoods. And I just want to let you know I'm part of a team looking at community development and community health and how they're connected. And in applying for this grant, we know that there's poor health outcomes with obesity, depression, mental health status in these neighborhoods than the rest of the city of Missoula. We also know that there is a sidewalk deficit in these neighborhoods of approximately 42% of missing sidewalks in comparison to 20% the rest of the city of Missoula. So that goes back to a social determinant of health, access to physical activity, sidewalk, affordable, accessible. We know it's proven that the people that get out, that move for physical activity, have better physical and mental health. So this will help upwards of 19,000 plus residents in these low-income neighborhoods, and that access the schools, businesses, parks, and so it's really important that we have that connectivity with the installation of these sidewalks. And this is a very exciting opportunity because we have over 20 miles of missing sidewalks in our city. I don't know the exact number, but this is a little dent in the big picture, so very excited. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. McMillan.
Good evening. My name is Heather McClellan. I'm the Housing Development Director for Homeward. Pleased to be here tonight to say thank you in advance. We are thrilled about the support we've been shown on several different, I would say, non-traditional housing projects that we've been looking at and playing with over the last couple of years. And so the home awards that we're receiving tonight, both on the 4th Street site for the pre-development risk coverage, around a senior model with a for-profit developer partner, as well as the small homes. We're going to spend a lot of quality time looking for different models that we can replicate and do beyond what our traditional sources can leverage. We are pleased to give you an update on the small home project. We are working toward a land acquisition in partnership with the food bank near their new and wonderfully developed site. They are looking to secure property, and we will be looking at other partners to place the small homes that some of you got a tour of last, I don't remember when we placed them, or parked them, so to speak. But we should be able to place 6 homes there, 5 of which will be affordable. We'll still have 4 additional units to place on other properties. These are just the seeds for some eventual home ownership partnerships and also projects. We're working with NeighborWorks Montana on building a model that we can grow further beyond these initial few homes. But on this particular site, we're pleased to be talking with Garden City Harvest about providing community gardens that are connected to the food bank and the residents. The GRIT program at the YWCA, I'm hoping to get some women in trade exposure, doing the site work and the foundation work out there, and we'll be working with HRDC with looking for home buyers for the homes, because they have a lot of home buyers. We see a lot of home buyers, but there's just no housing product out there. So the seeds with these projects that we're starting, we hope we will roll and develop and be able to do more down the road. So we're here to answer any questions, be happy to give you an update, and I'll race anybody else to the podium for the next time. And I will say too, I am thrilled about the CDBG allocation for Franklin to Fort and West Side neighborhood. I've lived in the Franklin to Fort neighborhood for the last 19 years, and it's been a lot of dodging dogs and other things. So I'm really excited about the sidewalk project, so thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else this evening? Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Devin Vanderschaff. I'm the Marketing and PR Coordinator at Accessible Space Incorporated. We sponsored and develop and manage the Eagle Watch Estates. And as Will said, we are hoping to have a CDBG grant for an elevator replacement right now. We have 24 very low-income adults with physical disabilities currently living at the Eagle Watch Estates. And the elevator needs some repair. The building was built in 1992, so it's 25 years old. Unlike some of the other buildings here, some of the parts are obsolete and in dire need of replacement. I was on the elevator actually today and definitely could use a little TLC. So anyway, our organization's been around since 1978. We have sponsored and developed projects all across the country, including 11 in the state of Montana, specifically for very low-income adults with physical disabilities, traumatic brain injuries, and/or mobility impairments. So we're happy to be here. Thank you in advance for all of your help and your consideration, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Davis.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Davis, and I'm the Executive Director with Homeward. And it seems like it's the Homeward show. It's not supposed to be, but it's the way it is this evening in terms of how fortunate we feel to have 4 separate grants in front of you. And as Heather mentioned, we have one that's a development grant for home, and another that's a CHOTO operating grant, and another that's pre-development. And I'm here to speak about our CDBG grant that is recommended for funding. And a slight difference from our CDBG program last year is that we're not asking for support for our foreclosure prevention program. That's largely been solved by the market. We maintain foreclosure prevention specialists, so we maintain all of the required training should somebody need to file for a loan modification, and we would certainly help somebody with their lender. However, what we're requesting support for is our financial literacy program, and that includes our group education program as well as one-on-one financial counseling. In addition to that, we also tailor workshops for service partners around the community, some of which are in this room today. I just learned that we're going to be starting a workshop for the youth homes here in Missoula, so we're delighted about that. And this also then includes our rental education and rental counseling program. And that is something, in addition to our financial education and financial counseling, that we're part of the coordinated entry system. And while we might not be at the heart of some of the most intense services, we're certainly on the continuum of services that help folks either avoid being homeless, or if they are homeless, hopefully get housed rapidly. So wanted to thank you for your support and let you know that we're here for any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else this evening? All right, with that, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council members? Ms. Jones.
I just had a question for Mr. Seaborn. There was a $25,000, I think, carryover from last year, and I just wanted to understand why. I would assume we try and spend this down every year, or how does it work? Why do we have this? Will we have it again?
Yep. So my best understanding, given the transition recently with CDBG and Home from the county to us, is what happens is CDBG has a rule. This is going to get pretty technical, but any program income that you come in, so we have some projects that we funded 5, 10, 15 years ago that it was structured as a payback loan, and so we get a little money every year to pay that back. When that money comes in, the moment that it comes in, any money we had allocated to support a project from, for instance, the 2016 program year CDBG funds, automatically needs to be substituted out. You have to spend the program income first. So looking at kind of how that played out, because we get about 25 to 26, and it's going to increase. Some of the loan payments are increasing next year, so we're anticipating that there could be maybe 29,000 next year. But that's likely what happened, is that got swapped out, and then because you have to spend the program income first.
Okay. Further questions? Seeing none, Ms. Heddall.
Thank you. I recommend, it's been a while, geez, let me get back on this. Okay. That we adopt a resolution of the City Council awarding Home Improvement Partnership Program Home and the Community Development Block Grant CDBG funds to certain organizations and directing staff to negotiate contracts and agreements with said organizations.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Mr. DeBari?
Excuse me. I heard a lot of you guys say thank you to us, and I would actually like to turn that around and say thank you to you for all the good and important work that you do for our community. We really appreciate the effort that you put in applying, because I know it's no small task to go through the application process, and I wish you good luck in all your endeavors with these grant funds.
Mr. Wilkins.
And I'll echo that what my colleague said. Thank you very much. And this is always one of the better things that we do on council. Sometimes some of the things aren't the greatest, but this is. I just wish we could get the federal government to give us more.
Mr. Von Losberg?
Yeah, I'd like to echo those thanks as well and add some thanks to Aaron and Will for your work on this process. And Council President Marler, thank you for participating in that review. I think if you haven't participated in a committee doing that kind of work, it's hard to have an appreciation for how difficult that can be. The pool of worthy funding opportunities is much larger than the dollars we have to allocate, and it's tough to make those decisions. I heard some great details both in committee and tonight about the way this money is going to be spent, and this represents a bit of a shift in the way that we're doing this. And I think that that is also very hard to do. If I've learned one thing on council in 3.5 years, is that change is hard. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. But this is a really necessary thing to do. So thanks to all of the applicants, ones who are receiving funds, as well as to the ones that did not get funds this time around. And thanks for everyone participating in the process.
Mr. Hess.
At risk of repeating what everyone has said, I want to thank the service providers and Aaron and Will as well. Excellent program and excellent work that everyone, that all of the service providers do with these funds. If anyone feels compelled to contact the congressional delegation, I think this is the single most impactful thing we can do as the city of Missoula is allocate these funds at the local level.
Ms. West.
So I'll just echo everyone's thanks to the folks that are here in the room, but also point out that there are organizations that do amazing work in our community that didn't get funded this year, not for lack of being awesome organizations, but brought, a bigger problem of not having enough funds to go around. So I hope they keep doing what they're doing, and that we also, come back up all of this with our, upcoming housing policy, so that all of these, we can have a comprehensive work plan to make this money go as far as possible.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote.
Thanks. On the resolution, Bentley votes yes. DeBari votes yes. Hedall votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Marler votes yes. Sweeney votes yes. Von Losberg votes yes. West votes yes. Wilkins votes yes. And Armstrong votes yes. Would anybody like to change your vote? That is 11 ayes and 1 absent.
And the grants are approved. Our second public hearing this evening is a petition to annex Lot 3 of Wildflower Hills. Our staff report this evening comes from Ms. McNamara.
I'll give everyone a minute to do what they're doing.
Apparently not as much interest in the annexation as...
Good evening, everyone. Anita McNamara with Development Services. I am presenting an annexation request from Mr. Nicholas Lopich, represented by Territorial Landworks, for property described as Lot 3 of Wildflower Hills subdivision. The applicant is requesting annexation to facilitate construction of a new single dwelling on the subject lot. The property is located in the Mansion Heights area on Spanish Peaks Drive. The property is also located in Ward Number 4, which is in the Far Views Patty Canyon Neighborhood Council. And the subject property is also located in the east half of Section 4, which is in Township 12, Range 19 West. The site is currently vacant, and the property has access to a portion of Spanish Peaks Drive. The property is encumbered with an access easement on the western area of the lot where Spanish Peaks Drive is located. As part of the annexation, a recommended condition requires that the property owner dedicate the existing easement as public right-of-way. And I have delineated that on the slide here as a red dashed line. This easement was established as part of the Wildflower Hills subdivision, which predates the Mansion Heights subdivision. The property owner will access the property via a private access easement to the south of the lot, which is shown as a blue line on this slide. And we do have a condition of annexation, which is that the titled landowner shall record a right-of-way dedication within the existing private access easement as described as Book 555, page 1316 for Spanish Peaks Drive on Lot 3 prior to the City of Missoula recording the resolution to annex, subject to review and approval by Development Services. And Title 20, which is consistent with the state law, permits municipalities to assign a city zoning at the time of annexation, as long as the zoning meets any of the following 3 criteria. 1, that the city zoning is compatible to the existing county zoning. 2, that authorizes land uses that were approved by county officials. And 3, is consistent with the land use and zoning recommendations as set forth in the growth policy. And the existing zoning on the property currently is County Zone CRR3. The county zoning permits 1 dwelling per 10,000 square feet for 1 unit and 15,000 square feet for 2 units. The permitted building types are detached house, townhouse, and 2-unit house. The compatible city zoning is RT10 residential, which permits the same residential building types and permits 1 dwelling unit per 10,000 square feet. And there are no special land uses that were approved by the county. And the land use of the applicable regional plan is Our Missoula, the City Growth Policy 2035, which was adopted in 2015 and recommends a land use designation of residential medium. Residential medium is a 3 to 11 dwelling unit per acre land use designation and is intended to fit with many already established residential neighborhoods and acknowledge the single family residential building type as the primary use with the potential for accessory dwellings. In addition, Our Missoula recommends RT10, R8, R5.4, and RT 5.4 zoning districts to go with the residential medium category. And our recommendation, based on the land use designation, staff recommends the council adopt a resolution to annex the property subject to the recommended condition of annexation and zone the subject property RT10. And I am available for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. McNamara. With that, I will open the public hearing on this proposed annexation. Anyone care to comment? You know how to clear a room, Anita. With that, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council members? Mr. DeBarra?
I know we've talked about this at a number of meetings, but we just want to make sure that the landowner recognizes that he or she will need to maintain the property that's within the little curve of, now I lost, is it Spanish Peaks Drive? Is that the name?
Right.
Yep. And
yes, and he is aware of that.
Right. So we just want to make sure that that was on the record again. Sure. That's all. Thanks.
Further questions? Seeing none, Mr. DeBarra?
I move that we adopt a resolution extending the corporate limits of the City of Missoula, Montana to annex within the boundaries of the city a certain parcel of land described as Wildflower Hills Lot 3, which includes a private access easement for a portion of Spanish Peaks Drive, and zone the property RT10 in the city, all located in the southeast quarter of Section 4, Township 12 North, Range 19 West, Principal Meridian, Montana.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote.
On the resolution to annex, DeBarra. DeBarra votes yes. Heddle. Heddle votes yes. Hess. Hess votes yes. Jones. Jones votes yes. Marlar. Marlar votes yes. Swaney. Swaney votes yes. Von Lossberg. Von Lossberg votes yes. West. West votes yes. Wilkins. Wilkins votes yes. Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes, and Bentley. Bentley votes yes. Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 11 ayes and 1 absent.
And the annexation is approved. We have no additional public hearings this evening. We'll move on to communications from the mayor. I have 3 items this evening. You live in a place long enough, you get to know a few people. And for a long time, when I worked on the copy desk at the Missoulian, I sat about 3 feet away from a fellow named Jeff Herman, who was affectionately known as Hermie, who passed away recently, and some of you may have seen the press coverage. Hermie typed with 2 fingers. He drank more coffee than any human being I've ever met, and he understood what copy editing was about. He, I don't believe, ever called me by my first name, and I never cared. I was always Engen to him, and he was always Hermie to me. Sent a note to the family today. He was a historian and a character and one hell of a copy editor, and he will be missed. Also heard today that our friend Rita Munzenreiter, who worked for a long time at the University of Montana, passed away. Rita worked diligently for that organization. She had a journalism background, a lovely human being who cared about the community as well, and she will be missed. And finally, I have signed the mayor's commitment to the Paris Climate Change Agreement, in no small part because we had a lot of constituent interest, and in no small part because we're doing a lot of that work already. And we think that it's important. I get a request probably once a week to sign on to Mayors for Something. And I don't sign on to all of those for lots of reasons. This is not only symbolic, but it's also practical. I believe that in this day and age, local leadership once again proves critical to making change in our country, and lots of mayors around the country have signed on. I've had conversations with a number of council members who are also very interested in supporting efforts to temper climate change, and I suspect that you'll be hearing more of that in the relatively near future. We'll move on to general comments from council members, and we'll begin this evening with Ms. Sweeney. Ms. Bentley.
I'm going to continue my tradition of using this time to talk about events at the fairgrounds. And I always smile through it because there's always something interesting going on. This weekend we have the Midtown Melt-Off hosted by the Midtown Association, and there's going to be it's the symbolic handoff of the ice rinks from Glacier Ice to 4-H. And so there'll be a petting zoo, free ice skating, brew fest, and music, and it'll be really fun, and that's at 5 on Friday, and I hope you guys can come. And then on Saturday is roller derby at the Outdoor Pavilion and a flea market. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Ms. West.
I'll promote some programs as well. How about that? So the Kids Club, the Burn Street Kids Club program started today which is hosted at the Burn Street Center, which also has the food co-op and the NMCDC and the Burn Street Bistro in it, how most people probably find it. So that's a drop-off site for any school-age child in Missoula, and it's also a closed dinner site for the food banks. So anyone can come. Your parents do have to sign some papers before they can leave you unsupervised.
Ms. Jones.
I just wanted to emphasize the point that school is out, and all of the kids are out and about in Missoula now, out of their regular school structure. So a lot of them are in camps, a lot of them are not in camps. They're walking, they're biking around town, some with babysitters, some with not. So if people would please be careful driving, because we've got a lot of little people who are enjoying their summer in our beautiful city.
Mr. Hess. Mr. Wilkins.
So summer's here, spring's here, or whatever you want to call it, and the deer are having their babies. So things are in an uproar all over town with the deer. So we're going to probably talk about that again pretty shortly. So stay tuned.
Ms. Armstrong. Ms. Marler. Mr. DeBari.
I want to thank you for signing on to the Climate Mayor's List. I appreciate your interest in doing that, and as folks around the table have seen from email, we are working, I guess I should say I am working with Mr. Jones, and we should see a referral by the end of the week so that council could voice its support as you have to me regarding supporting the mayor in his action. I didn't come out great, but I think you know what I meant. And then I guess I'd also like to echo what Ms. Matthew Jenkins had said regarding the bond information that was available on SIRE. If you take a look at that information, it will say something like account 00482, whatever it is. And so I think it's probably useful to provide some kind of narrative that describes for folks what all of those accounts are, and just help increase the level of transparency in terms of what we're applying these bond payments to.
Ms. Heddle. Mr. Von Lossberg.
I want to say thank you, Mr. Mayor, for signing on to the Climate Accord. Thanks, Dr. Dewari, for your work in spearheading that conversation. As I mentioned a week ago, the city has a very strong energy conservation and climate action plan that this body unanimously adopted in January of 2013. And I think you taking the action that you took today affirms and highlights in a really positive way the work that scores of people from the community did in putting that plan together, and demonstrates, yet again, that leadership at the local level is crucial, and it's here and it's active. So thanks for doing that.
We have no committee reports this evening, no new items of business. Are there any additional items to be referred? Any miscellaneous petitions, reports, communications, or announcements? Any questions on the administratively approved agreement report? Seeing none. Thank you, as always, ladies and gentlemen, for your service. We will be adjourned.